My name is John Collet. I'm with the Ottawa Garden Club, and I'm here to talk about composting. Everybody should compost. What is compost? Compost is a mixture of very decaying organic substances. Dead leaves, food scraps, paper, anything that's dead. I mean, even a dead animal could be composted. I don't recommend composting dead animals, but you could do it. So why is composting important? So microbes eat decaying material, the decomposers. So you got bacteria, that's going to focus on your nitrogen heavy sources, your greens, grass clippings, food waste. Those are some things that bacteria-based decomposers focus on. The dry materials, such as straw, the leaves that fall, these cardboard boxes, that's going to become more of a fungal decomposition. It works, it's colder, but it still works, it just takes longer. So that's kind of what happens, is everything except plastic gets eaten by these microbes, these decomposers. Plastic will decompose, it just might take 600 to 1,000 years. So why is compost valuable? So a lot of gardeners call compost black gold, because when you put even a half inch, an inch of compost on top of your soil and then you plant into it, your plants go crazy. They just love all that organic matter. So some of the reason as to why that works, plants partner with microbes to grow. So sun comes down, the leaves on the plant, they go through photosynthesis, they make sugar. So during the day they're making sugar up in the leaves all day long. Nighttime it gets cooler, those sugars get sent down to the roots. Then the roots make trades with all the microbes. So they trade for water, they trade for nutrients. Whatever the plant needs, it absorbs through these trades that are going on with the microbes. So the root hairs and the microbes are trading at night. So the microbes get sugar, the plant roots, the plant gets water and whatever minerals it needs. Sun comes back up, all that comes back up. And then it goes to the leaves, the plant can grow, gets a little bigger. The cycle goes over and over and over. So what's happened in today's environment is the organic matter is degraded in the vast majority of soils. So when the prairies were first soil tests were done in the prairie before the tilling had taken place by the European settlers, the organic matter was around 10%. So good prairie soil, undisturbed, 10% organic matter. Good soil today is considered at 5% organic matter. Most home soils, you're looking at 1 to 2%. By the time they make a new house, they dig everything up, they throw it all in a pile. You might get some of it back, you might not, but it kills all the microbes. So if we're going to garden, we need to get that organic matter back up. Organic matter, it's just huge for plant development. The more organic matter you have, the better it absorbs water. And then the more activity with the microbes, the better the trades are between the microbes and the plants. What I've observed is my vegetables taste better when I've gotten my organic matter up. Mine started at 2%, I'm up to 10% in my garden today. And I don't have a bricks meter, but if I did, I'm sure the sugar content of my vegetables would be higher now than 15 years ago when I was at 1 to 2% for organic matter. So anyway, so that's if you're a gardener, that's why you want to compost. If that's not enough for you, you could do it for the environment. The EPA estimates 12% of the country's methane emissions come from landfills. That's all coming from organic matter that's just decomposing in a landfill. It's doing nobody any good other than sending methane up into the atmosphere. Indiana University published a study stating 28% of the material put in landfills could be composted. That's a big number. A lot of it's coming from leaves, a lot of it's coming from restaurants, but we can all do our part. So if everyone in the US composted, it'd be like taking 7.8 million cars off the road. It's a lot. It's a big number. All right, so optimal soil. 40% minerals, 10% organic matter, 25% air, 25% water. Again, so we want to get that organic matter from 1 to 2% for most places up to that 10% number. So make compost, right? So you can make hot compost. Hot compost is where bacteria does the work. That's a lot of greens and a lot of food scraps. Here's some rotten tomatoes. Here's more food scraps. Here's some dead green stuff from my place. All that will decompose by bacterial decomposition. When bacteria goes and does its work, it's reproducing, it generates a lot of heat. So those piles get really hot fast. Now if you're gonna shred these boxes, that works, but it's fungal decomposition. That's a colder process. Fungus just does its own thing, it takes its sweet time, it gets the job done, it just takes longer. But that'll break down your wood, your wood chips, your tree branches. It just takes longer, but it will work. That's mushroom culture. A lot of that's taking logs, drilling holes into it, and essentially putting mushroom fungus in there, and then mushrooms. So anyway, that's just an example of it. After a few years, that it does decompose that log. Vermicompost. That would be a mix of greens and browns, but you stick worms in there. And you start getting worms in there, and then that supercharges the compost, because the worms eat the microbes, they poop the microbes, they eat the food, they poop everything out, and that stuff's super, super good compost. Mulching is a form of composting in place. So if you take your fall leaves, and I like to run them over with the lawnmower to get them so they don't blow away and get them smaller, and maybe get a little bit of grass in there, a little bit of greens. Put those around your shrubs, put those on top of your vegetable garden, and that just cover that. And as long as you don't put it too high, you know, a few inches, 2 to 4 inches, maybe more, but that, generally if you keep it in that range, that'll all decompose, and it'll be, you can plant right into it in the spring. And then that's going to feed the worms, it's going to feed the microbes, all the bacteria, protozoa, nematodes, fungi, all that stuff's going to love that. You're also going to promote insect life that can live in that leaf litter. So that's something to do. If you want to make more compost, so that's composting in place. But if you want to do this, we can put it all in a bin. So I like mixing the greens and the browns. So I just have a little bit here. So let's start with, so here's some browns. It's just ripped up cardboard box. The smaller you shred it, the easier it is for the microbes. We just put a few inches of that in here. You can cut if you want to, or whatever. Put a few inches of this in there. Okay, so we've just created a base of browns. So if you want to take a picture of that, we got a base of browns in there. And we're going to dump a little bit of water on there. And this has a hole in the bottom, so the water's draining out the bottom. Now we're going to take our food scraps, dump that in there. Banana peels, rotten tomatoes, all kinds of good stuff. Here's some more green stuff and brown stuff mixed in. Just throw it all in there. This will kind of jumpstart it. Here's some, a little bit of soil. all the little bit of soil does is there's microbes already in that soil. So that just supercharges it. You don't have to put it in there, but it will go a little faster if you put a little bit of that in there. And then I'm gonna just moisten it all up. Because this bin has a hole in the bottom, it's just gonna drain out the bottom. And then move this out of the way so I can't flood it. If your bin doesn't have a hole in the bottom, don't flood it, because otherwise it gets soggy, and that's where you get the stinky aerobic stuff. So one of the keys, if you don't want your compost pile to stink, a couple things you have to do. One, don't flood it. If it goes anaerobic because there's too much moisture in there, that means without oxygen. That's what anaerobic means. It's gonna, that's what makes it smell bad. If you put meat and other animal products into your compost pile, that'll work. It might smell bad, and it's gonna attract rats and other rodents. So I discourage using animal products in a compost pile just because you're attracting the rodents, and I don't want them. Most people don't want them. It's not that they won't decompose, it's just that they attract the unfriendlies. So again, that thing's still dripping. It's not gonna, I know it's got holes in the bottom, so I'm not worried about it getting soggy. This is using an actual bin. You can do this, you can make as long as it's 3 feet by 3 feet, you can just throw your stuff in a pile. It'll decompose. Just set it outside. If you want to build a fancy bin, 3 feet by 3 feet, 4 feet by 4 feet, just make sure however you build it that air can get in there. That's one of the key things, is you gotta let air get in there. You gotta let moisture be able to get to it. So if you don't have any moisture, microbes aren't going to do anything. They need water to live, just like we do. We need water to live. I like putting mine in the shade. You can put it in the sun; it just dries out faster. So I try to find a shady spot for it, but if I can't, I'll put it in a sunny spot and just know it's going to take longer as it dries out during a dry spell. Generally, if you want fast compost, you got to have it at least 3 feet by 3 feet, just to get that bacteria going and get enough heat in there. If you're like me and like, hey, if it takes a couple of years, I don't care. I don't turn it very often. So if you want fast compost, turn that every week. Turn it over. It's a lot more work, but you'll get compost a lot faster. So I do recommend turning it at least once a year. What I tend to do is I tend to build a pile every fall with all the leaves that come down and all the garden stuff and everything. And that's my main pile. I let that sit for a year, get it partially decomposed, then I spread it on my compost pile all winter, and then it's generally ready to go by spring. I'm ready to plant into it. So that's my pattern. Do your own thing. I just encourage everybody. It's a great thing for the environment. It's a great thing for your garden to do some composting.